That's where that is. Just a quick idea, and I did this because it's text heavy. I have sent the slides to Megan, so if people want to share them out. So coming in, just looking at this, came out of one of the very early NOAA reports, the NOAA ASCE Task Force reports about and MOP 140 about what standards were identified as could be needing the issues or needing the data around what NOAA uses. Again, and based on the hazard. There are some things that are going on that I do know about, and Brian's on the call, so if he knows about other things, feel free to chip in, Brian. The 3 in bold were ones that were high target ones, the 12, 13, 14, 45, 46, 47, 62, 63, 64. They're actually all being combined into one standard around stormwater. So that is one thing that actually is in progress right now, is they were needing updates and reviews. So what the committee decided was that let's go ahead and, given what was coming up, let's go ahead and bring all of them together into a single standard rather than 9 separate documents. Although they were packaged in groups of 3. So that is currently ongoing. So the 3 in bold are going to come together as one standard, or one standard package. And then the one that's on, the one that's in italics in bold, the erosion control one, I want to bring that one up, one thing, because I'm serving on it. And so I know a lot about that one. But that one also is an interesting one because what we're realizing, obviously, as we see the climate, we see the weather changing, we get more intense storms. And I do sit on the mid-Atlantic, so we are seeing more intense storms. The amount of erosion that's going to be happening is increasing. But particularly on the engineering side, we think about all of those practices, whether they're coir logs, whether they're silt fences, whether they're other things. A lot of the calculations that have been used or the way the manufacturers put out products don't set it up in a way that work well with the design numbers we would have. So if we calculate flow rate or forces heading for a silt fence, that's really not how they advertise the product. So we're actually trying to think about even how do we work with people, bring somebody onto the committee who can help us think about how do we shift the discussion in the industry to providing data so that we know under what conditions, particularly these purchase practices, will survive. So that's an interesting piece of that, to be able to bring the NOAA data in through engineering to actually potentially impact how manufacturers are going to be putting out their products and labeling them. So those are the big ones in there. The others will be going through their regular review. Some of them are older, some of them have been just reaffirmed. And those are the ones that I know about. And then the other two, there are 2 MOPs that are in progress. One is MOP 77 that basically supports stormwater design. The one that EWRI tends to do with its standards, unlike some of the other standards that are out there, we separate a lot of the guidance out of the standard into an MOP. So the standard can be very prescriptive. And then the supporting, here's why you do it and what you do, can tend to, or particularly the bigger fluff part of it, can tend to come out in an MOP. So MOP 77 is under review. We do need to get that back moving again. And we have just started an MOP discussion of putting an outline together around nature-based solutions, particularly in that space. So those are the 2 big pieces of it in terms of standards and manuals of practice. And I don't know if Brian had anything he wanted to add. Otherwise, I'm going to go on to an interesting survey that we did.
Really, I simply added into the chat what the sensitivity grouping codes represent so that everyone can get that. Sure.
Yeah, I stole the slide from another presentation, so I didn't delete that column. So I appreciate that, Brian, for helping everybody else out.
I suspect they go all the way back to MOP 140, but
they do.
That's exactly
what a bad
commercial
advertisement there.
Yeah, I absolutely stole it from there. Dan, I am an environmental engineer. I firmly believe in recycling.
Absolutely. I think it's the best form of flattery.
It absolutely is.
Excellent.
So
Shirley, you have some more comments? Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I've got a couple of additional slides in here that I think the group might find interesting. So one of the things we did a couple of months ago, we left it open out there, was to ask our members what data sets, as this group knows and has discussed, certain data sets have been supported, certain data sets are not as well supported, but in the current political climate. And there are certainly ones that have disappeared or been substantially modified. So we actually asked our members, just broadly, tell us what data sets are important to you and why are you using them? Just so we can get a feel for, we've had a real focus around NOAA Atlas 15, and that does hit a lot of our members, but we realize that NOAA Atlas 15 probably is not the be all and end all. So what I've got the next slides, and the first one will be the NOAA piece of it, and then the others will be for the other agencies. We asked our members, and we got somewhere in about the range of about 75 to 80 responses. And if you crop up in here, this just kind of gives you an idea of the types of data sets that our members are finding that they're telling us that they find important, and what they need to do their job. If it is in there in bold, it means that we had more than one response. NOAA Atlas 1415 was obviously very, very high for our members, because a lot of our members do land development. And that's the data set that we use to size everything from your little inlet, curb and gutter inlet on your street, up to sizing culverts that go under highways and things like that. But obviously there are others that are in there in terms of access to existing data, and historical data, looking at the tsunamis. PMP estimation modernization is huge, because obviously we also in our institute deal with high hazard dams. So a lot of those designs in there rely on PMP, and you can just go through there and see what's in that one. So that was what came out from the NOAA list. And then moving on to the other agencies, you could just come through. Here's what they found in FEMA, what came from NASA, all of those pieces. And again, I think it's very instructive to see also where the engineers are saying they actually use it for that piece of the design work. Ones that come up for interest obviously are NRCS with the web soil survey. Interestingly, the people who identified it, some use it in irrigation, because we do have an irrigation division, irrigation engineering division. Also, we use web soil survey for urban land development. So two sides of our profession are using the same data set for very different reasons, and that's always a very interesting piece of that to come in and see. And then, of course, moving through Corps of Engineers and the dam and structure inventories, levee databases, the various EPA databases, and then coming into the last of EPA and, of course, USGS, which has a substantial amount of information that we use, from stream stats to the land cover database, the water information system, and then obviously all the geographic DEM data. So that just kind of gives you a feel for, in a couple of quick minutes, and hopefully I'll put us a little closer back on schedule for what we're doing inside EWRI. So that's my quick hit. Dan, I didn't need my whole 20 minutes.
Oh, no, you're good, Shirley. Thank you so much.
So that's
questions for Shirley.
I couldn't have done that good of a job.
I guess
Shirley, this is Ellen. I would love to talk to you about this prioritization exercise that we did, something similar for the insurance industry around some of the data sets and some of the next steps that we're doing. So I'll reach out to you.
That sounds great. I look forward to that conversation.